Successfully negotiating your way through 6 days of competition, 8 opponents and 9 rounds of golf is what it takes to be the winner of the Fairstone Scottish Amateur Championship. Nice to see the sun breaking through then as the week progressed for this year's competitors at a venue that last held this tournament in 1968 and is quite simply one of the best golf courses in the world.
We're very grateful to come to Open Championship venues or European Tour venues. Places like Muirfield, Royal Aberdeen, Panmure. Setting up traditional links courses is one of my favourite things to do. And you know, seeing the conditions this week and the wind, players have had to play a lot of different types of shots, and it's great to see that.
The club are very, very proud and honoured to be supporting amateur golf, particularly in Scotland. Given Muirfield's history as a golf course that has hosted 16 Open Championships, it's its recognition worldwide it speaks for itself. The players' reaction is one of a true test of golf, fair, but very in keeping with championship golf at its best. You've really got to plot your way around very carefully. Par is usually, as you say, a very good score around here. You shouldn't be too aggressive, but play to the right side of the fairways to allow an approach into the greens, which are very well protected by the contours and greenside bunkers. But strategy is very important around here.
And with strategy and those greenside bunkers in mind, we sent Daniel out to take a look at one of the most iconic holes on the course.
Here we are at the 13th hole at Muirfield, one of the feature holes this week. We're currently standing on the medal tee, which is 156 yards, but this week we're playing it back at the championship tee, which is about 200 yards. With today's wind, it'll be about an 8 iron, but one of the key features at Muirfield is the bunkering, and that's definitely pivotal at this hole. There are 5 bunkers that surround this green, and all of them are a great test. So we found one of the bunkers here at 13, and the elite golfers don't mind so much when the sand's this nice. You can really clip it nicely, but one of the key things is to see how high the bunker is. You've got to really get that shot up very quickly and get some height in your shot. For those that remember, in 2002 Ernie Els was in about this spot and made a key up and down on his way to victory in a playoff at the Open. So we're going to try and hit a similar shot like he did. So I'm happy with that shot. I've got a good chance of my par, and that might be good enough for a half or a win this week on the 13th.
And so down to the competition, and who out of the 256 starters would be crowned champion at the end of the week? Well, a lot of people's favourite was this man here, Grant Forrest of Craigielaw. He played here in the Open Championship 2 years ago and was having a great season. As it was though, he lost out in the 4th round to George Burns of Williamwood. The talented youngster was having a great week, and he managed to shake hands with Grant on the 15th green. A 4-3 victory for George. He also came through the 5th round, beating David Mitchell from Leven Thistle, setting up a quarter-final tie against the winner of the 5th round match between Craig Chalmers, with a nice approach here at the 11th, and Robert MacIntyre. Both players have been on good form this season, but as it came up the last, MacIntyre was one ahead, and this putt rolling up to the side of the hole confirmed a victory by 2 holes, and Robert MacIntyre would go through to the quarter-finals. Also up in the top half of the draw was another Scotland internationalist, Connor Syme. This an eagle putt at the par 5 5th in his 4th round match against Gordon Munro. Very impressive, and I have to say if it was me, I'd have went for a little bit more of a celebration. Connor safely negotiating his 4th round tie against Munro, winning 5-3. That set up a 5th round match against Angus Carrick, seen holing out here. Angus from Douglas Park Golf Club managed to beat Connor Syme in the 5th round. It was a close fought match though, and Carrick and Syme shook hands on the 19th hole. Carrick then had a quarter final against Greg Marchbank from Thornhill. Again it went to extra time, but this time it was Marchbank who progressed, winning at the 20th. That set up a semi-final clash with Robert MacIntyre, and it was MacIntyre who came out in top 3-2 to make it through to Saturday's final. In the other half of the draw, Greg Ingram from Newmarket was playing well, here holing out nicely on his way to victory over Scotland internationalist Jamie Savage in the 4th round. His reward was a 5th round meeting with last year's runner-up Graham Robertson. Graham, holding a few putts himself, managed to come through by winning on the last hole, making it through to the last 8. Perhaps the most eye-catching match of the 5th round, though, was Jack Mcdonald versus Barry Hume. Jack having another great season, semi-finalist at the Amateur Championship in Carnoustie. He was also part of the 6-man team that won the European Championship for Scotland, and with the match all square here on the par 3 16th, that's a very nice tee shot. But he was up against a real quality opponent. Barry Hume had won this title back in 2001 and was looking to do so again. It was Hume who holed the birdie putt here at the par 3 16th. That meant that he was 1 up with 2 holes left to play. The 17th was halved, which meant that this lengthy birdie putt from McDonald had to drop if he had any chance of forcing the tie down the 19th. But as you can see, it just came up a touch short, and it was handshakes, Barry Hume making it through to the last 8. Elsewhere in that half of the draw, Callum Hill from Tantallon would have been hopeful for a good week, after just a few weeks ago qualifying for the Scottish Open at Gullen. He made it through to the 5th round before losing out to Craigie Hill's Daniel Young. Stuart Robin of Prestwick St Cuthbert, with a very impressive approach to the 12th, also had a good week. He made it through to the quarter-finals, but he also lost out to Daniel Young. The other quarter-final saw Barry Hume take on Graham Robertson. In what was a tremendous match, both players were 3 under at the turn to be all square. It was Robertson who came out on top, winning on the 17th, but perhaps that match took its toll as he lost his semi-final to Daniel Young. Young here with a nice birdie putt on the 5th, winning 2-1 to make it through to the 36-hole final against Robert MacIntyre. And it was a little bit chilly early in the morning on the Saturday, but at least the sun was out, and there was a bright start by Daniel Young, winning on the 3rd to go 1 up. But Robert MacIntyre replied straight away with a fantastic birdie at the par 3 4th, all square going up the 5th. Young was through the green at the par 5 and 2, and this chip on nestled up to the side of the hole, a tap-in birdie, and he went 1 up once again. MacIntyre then seemed to struggle a little bit in the middle part of his round and dropped to 3 down. But once again, here on the 12th, from just off the edge of the green, he sank a lovely long birdie putt. The difference now, Daniel Young 2 up after 12 holes. And it was still that score when they reached the 17th. But Young had this short birdie putt to move to 3 ahead, which he duly converted as they reached the halfway mark. MacIntyre's drive on 18 found sand, and that put him in more trouble. Young was safely on the green, and once again had a short putt to win the hole, this with a par. And at the halfway mark, Daniel Young from Craigie Hill was 4 shots ahead. No room to be complacent in a 36-hole final though. By the time the players reached the 5th for the second time that day, Young's lead was only 1. Fair to say that Daniel was a fan of the par 5 5th though. He birdied it in the morning, and after a magnificent second shot in the afternoon, he would do so again. His lead now back to 2. Young would bogey the par 3 7th though, and after finding the sand here at the 9th and failing to convert that putt, the match was all square after 27 holes. But not for the first time in the final, Young would show the sort of class that saw him lift the South African Amateur Championship earlier in the season. A beautiful birdie 3 at the 470-yard par 4 10th. Young 1 up once again. Fair to say the weather took a turn for the worse round about this point in the final. From here on in, there was never more than 1 hole in it, and by the time the golfers reached the 16th for the second time that day, it was all square. Robert MacIntyre holding a gutsy par putt to keep it that way as they moved on to the 35th hole of the day. The par 5 17th, and this time it was Young facing a tricky par putt to keep things all square, but it just stayed out on the high side, and that meant as we came down the 36th hole, Young would have to win it to force the match into extra time. It was MacIntyre who hit the longer drive. Daniel Young had found the front edge of the green with his approach, but MacIntyre was in the mood to be the first left-hander in living memory to lift this title, and also the first golfer from Argyll and Bute to do so since 1935. A terrific second shot here at the par 4 18th. Daniel Young knew that he needed a birdie to keep the match going, really. He subsequently ran his attempt 6 or 7 foot past, and this putt back for par stayed out, and Glencritten's Robert MacIntyre was this year's champion. A great afternoon's display from him after not such a great morning.
My lunch didn't taste good this afternoon. 4 down 18 holes to play, so I went to the range before I went out and I found something in my golf, so took that out onto the golf course. I felt in control of my golf all that second round, and even coming up the last day it just felt good.
It's always hard for the losing finalist, but how does Daniel Young reflect on his week here at Muirfield?
The field was strong and I had some good wins out there. I scrambled through a couple of close games earlier on in the tournament, so it's good to get to a major final, but you're pretty gutted at the moment, obviously.
And finishing off where we started, what does this week's winner think of the venue?
That's the best golf course I've played. You just got to play it as it is. The golf course, you don't really have to play the man because just par golf wins out there.
Congratulations to Robert MacIntyre, 2015 Fairstone Scottish Amateur Champion.